How's it going, guys? Good. All right. So today I'm going to discuss the statistics and how insurance companies benefit from Georgia speed limit laws and why Georgia speed limits should be raised. One of those is, like I said, insurance companies are using it as leverage. There's safety improvements in roads and technology and the training in new drivers. Also, by increasing these limits, people will follow the limits and respect the law more. So the 55-mile-an-hour speed limit was well intentioned when it was put in place during the 1970 oil shortages. They hoped that this law would reduce fuel usage, but as a test, few drivers actually obeyed the reduced limit. The last time local speed limits were raised was 1996 in Georgia, according to the official UGA website. A lot of people bring up the increase in fatalities from 1996, but this is almost directly in proportion with the growing number of drivers as well as cell phone usage in cars. Some of the advancement in carsing technology as well as roads. There's rumble strips in roads now that we've never seen since 1996. We have wider roads. We have improved turning lanes. There's more roundabouts and speed bumps for areas where low speed is necessary and vital. We have better paved roads. And that's only for the roads. For cars, we have electric cars. That definitely helps with the fuel shortage. We're seeing more electric cars now than we have ever seen. Cruise control allows for safe speeds with its automatic braking. Warning lights on rear view mirrors. This is a huge help to people when you're going a higher speed to prevent accidents. All cars have traction control pretty much, even if it's not the nicest car, cars have traction control. Lane departure warning systems, that's a huge one. And it helps for concentration, these speed bumps and roundabouts, when it's vital that the speeds are low. One other thing specific to Georgia is that it's really hard to get your license, or harder to get your license now than it's ever been. You have to have your permit for a full year, I know, in Georgia. You also have to go through drug and alcohol programs to get it. Even if you're 16, like I said, you have to have your permit for a full year. You have to have a full year of driving training. Another reason these speed limits should be raised is, like I said, insurance company leverage. 50,000 people get pulled over per day, and a lot of these insurance companies over benefit from raising rates when people are pulled over. Another thing is that it can be used as, with 50,000 people getting pulled over per day, officers can abuse power and use it as an excuse for searching, unwarranted searching. And it's also too loose and subjective as opposed to being like strong and objective. So by increasing limits, drivers would be completely expected to respect the law. Right now, there's hardly any consistency in the speed limit laws of whether you can go 10, 15 above. Officers, if they're in a bad mood that day, they'll do something different each time. He or she may be more strict. When you get pulled over, the officer might artificially put you down for a different speed because these speed limits are low, and it's just a lot more subjective. There's also speed traps we're seeing in small towns. That's nothing more than like a moneymaker for out of towners. It's not something that people are really going these dangerous speeds. And so I think that the writing tickets should more so be for public safety and not necessarily to like meet a town's budget. Speed limits, like I said, should be set for public safety. Increasing the limits would be taken completely serious by drivers and law enforcement. The limit is set to be at the highest speed that a driver should safely travel. The driver should 100% have to respect that if they go up. And if you go above that, you should be prepared to be pulled over and given a ticket. And I read a 2015 article that was published by the University of Texas. And the author talks about how speed limits should more so conform to drivers and not necessarily the other way around. And yeah, speed limits are not conformed to drivers right now. Rather, they're more so influenced by insurance companies and then outdated statistics and the tickets we pay from speed traps. So this should change. And I think that a raise in the speed limits would be something that could be done safely.
I have a question. Yeah,
Yeah.
I have a question. What do you suggest that the speed limits be raised to?
So so in 1996, the last time they were raised, it was a 5 to 10 mile per hour raise. And what it would be is I was more so advocating not for Atlanta, but there's a lot of rural Georgia towns that use speed traps, et cetera. So it would be more so raising those limits to maybe 5 to 10 miles an hour to keep rural traffic moving, as well as keep the speed traps to sort of a minimum. So I would say like 5 to 10 in certain places.
I know that there are a few states like Virginia, for example, that are starting to have less cops on the highway checking for speed, and instead they're adding things like drones and things on the side of the highway that will, grab your speed, and then you literally just get like a ticket in the mail. Do you
Mhm.
think that adding this would be helpful for your cause or not?
I think that adding this would be helpful with a higher speed limit. So one thing I would sort of say is that with a raised speed limit almost comes a more enforced law. So because if you raise a speed limit 10 miles an hour, you see someone going over said speed limit, it's sort of objective and right there that that's breaking the law and you're going to get pulled over. Nowadays, you see officers, if you're going 8 or 9 over, maybe even up to 12 or 13, officers will turn their head, not do anything about it, just because the speed limit laws are known to be not what a speed limit should be. So I would say, yes, with a raised speed limit, drones and higher security on roads, I guess you could say, would be a good thing.
So it sounds like you were kind of talking about these speed limits should be more based on the actual safety of the speeds. So like maybe they should all be raised to a limit where it's no longer safe to ever be going that speed. Is that kind of what you're trying to say, I guess?
So yeah, what I was saying is that the speed limits are, as of now, in almost all places, the actual limit. Going above it is not going to necessarily be dangerous. Going 5 above it isn't going to be dangerous. When the laws were implemented in 1996, going above that limit would have been dangerous. So nowadays, what I was saying is that when you put these speed limits in, is you want a set in stone limit to know what is going to be a dangerous speed and what you have to stay under. So so kind of like you're saying, I'm not necessarily advocating for cars to be going faster on the roads. I'm almost more so advocating to stricter road laws, but with a higher speed limit.
I gotcha.
Yeah.
So I know that Georgia has a lot of weird like traffic laws. Why did you decide to focus just on the speed limits?
Because I actually saw something about it and how they hadn't been changed since 1996, and that sort of caught my attention because like literally cars have, I mean, done a full 180 since 1996. Cars are completely different, roads are different, everything about the roads is different since 1996. So I felt like there should be at least some type of change in speed limit laws, etc., about changing that. So yeah, I forget where I saw it, but I saw something and it just sort of popped out to me. Yep. And was that it?
I think that's
Right.
it.
All right. Oh,